All right. Well, hey, everybody. This is the Bill and Kirk show. And today I want to, let's see, I got to get my notes here. I want to welcome everybody here to the the Kirk and Bill show, Bill and Kirk show. As you can see, we're getting pretty serious about this whole thing we're doing, and we've actually set up an official Facebook page. So if you haven't taken an opportunity, go over to the Facebook page and click the like and follow buttons to get updates on managing your business, marketing, and technology in these extraordinary times. We're working on a lot of really exciting things. We're lining up some fantastic guests like Terry, who we have here today from the Polk County Economic Development Corporation, to bring future broadcasts that can help you take your business to that next level, no matter what's going on in the world. And so I'm going to ask you real quick, if you would go ahead and just click like on this broadcast. That helps the algorithms get it out to more people, and share it if you would, so that you can help us get the word out. And then if you have a comment or a question, go ahead and leave it in the comment section on our Facebook page, and we can include that into the show and try and answer them. For those of you who may not know who I am, my name is Kirk Anderson, and I am a business owner. I own and operate a business called Interactive Business Solutions. I've done that for about 17 years now in St. Croix Falls. And my business helps other businesses get their products and services, their messages to the internet. And we do that through creating quality, responsive websites, creating email campaigns, managing social media, creating video and audio production. So if your business is, like many businesses, looking for ways to connect in this kind of strange pandemic world, so that you can continue to do your business and meet, but using video and audio instead of meeting in person, maybe you need to share screens or files, or just want to talk to the grandkids, then I can help. And so that's me, Kirk Anderson. And I'm going to let Bill introduce himself. He's the co-host of this show, and we're really excited to welcome Bill as well.
So again, my name is Bill Teese. I am the owner and founder of WJE Company, LLC. I'm a small business consultant, and I work with everything from one-person shops all the way up to what would be considered maybe a medium-sized business. But right now, mostly what I'm doing is talking with people about how to get through the next 30 days, next 60 days, next 90 days, and how to get out the other side. I actually have a one client that is working on starting up something new right now, which, what the heck? It's not a bad time to do that if you have the resources to do it. Everybody else is scrambling. Sometimes you can pop up and do something. But I am on the board of the Falls Chamber of Commerce. I'm also on the board of trustees for St. Croix Regional Medical Center. So local to the area of Greater St. Croix Falls, and really looking to push this information out well beyond just kind of the, Polk County, Burnett County into Minnesota. We want anybody that wants to listen, that wants to learn about how to kind of punch through, how to pivot, how to reach your next goal in your business, even in the middle of this complete chaos that we're living in right now. So that's me. I'll kick it back to Kirk here, and he can bring in our guest.
Yeah, so one of the things that we are really excited to introduce is guests who have experience and the means to help your business. And so that might be information, it might be logistics, it might be the ability to give you a loan, it might be someone that has a technology that could help you. But we're going to try and build that into this process. And our guest for today is someone that I have recently started working with, but the organization that he works for, the Polk County Economic Development Corporation, is someone that has been one of my clients for a number of years. And basically, Terry is relatively new into this job. He got tossed right into the frying pan where the economics in the area is kind of on fire. And so he gets to help sort that out. But he has the insight and the knowledge of a lot of different things that help businesses. And so I'm super excited to bring Terry in. I'm going to let him do some introductions of himself. Terry, welcome to the Kirk and Bill show, talking about business, and take a few minutes or a little bit of time just to introduce who you are, where you came from, and what your business is or what your job is at the Economic Development Corporation.
Sure. Well, first, thanks both Kirk and Bill for doing this show. Talk about a great economic development tool. Something like this is awesome for you guys to be able to do this. And I consider it quite an honor that I'm the first guest under the official Kirk and Bill show bannerhead.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, big awesomeness right there.
That's right. Just remember us little people when you guys go on to host the night programs and stuff, okay?
Right.
But this is, as Kirk mentioned, relatively new to the position. So Polk County Economic Development Corporation, of course, is focused on Polk County and how can we help drive the economy and help in so many different ways. I think a lot of people think of economic development and they think, oh, we're the ones that put the businesses in the industrial parks. And there's definitely a sector of that. There's a sector of that, and it's an extremely important piece of our economy, and no matter what area you live. But it's so much more than that. And I've had to learn those things as I've come on too. It's about working with schools to have workforce retention. It's about working with all the different financial programs to help businesses succeed. It's about housing. We just completed a countywide housing study, which of course is going to be significantly impacted by this as well, and what the outcome of that will be. So don't think of economic development as just the guys chasing the smokestacks, as it's referred to sometimes. It's really, I'm as a resource here available to anything we can do to help drive the economy. And I just started this in December. So Bill mentioned prior to us going live here about, what a time to kind of take over this role. And yeah, it really is. It's definitely challenging. As we all know, things change by the hour with this situation we're in. But as much as the situation's changing, I do think there's great signs within Polk County already of the resiliency for us to be able to work through this and work together to make sure that Polk County comes out on the other side of this thing in a positive manner.
Do you have any specific examples of things that are positive? Because I feel like people can use positive news right now. So when you talk about positivity, what are some of those things? And they can be 30,000 foot view, or they can be very specific.
Yeah, well, much like you, Bill, you were saying you have someone that's looking at starting a business. I'm in touch with a lot of different people that are looking at starting a business. And I'd say over the last number of weeks, that hasn't happened so much. But there are businesses currently established that are looking at changing up some of the things that they've done during this time to be more fiscally responsible, I guess, if you want to say. Instead of leasing, they're looking at owning and doing things like that, which entrenches them further into our economic pattern here. So those are positive things that I see. The other thing is, all the different businesses that are staying open and not, throwing in the towel, because it's not going to work if people do that. We need to, just keep plugging away. There are safety nets in place, right, to help those organizations that I'm sure we'll get to later in this call. But I have, over the last 2+ weeks, I guess, where this has really been unfolding more of a dire nature, I guess, where people are really getting more and more concerned about what are the long-term ramifications of this. I have yet to get the call, from someone saying, this is terrible, I'm going to have to close the doors. People are sticking to their guns, and that's what you have to do in this time of crisis, whether it's for the virus or whether it's just another situation you're dealing with. It's about trying to just keep fighting the good fight until you can come out the other side.
Mm-hmm. So, how long have you been at your job now? Did you start in the last 6 months, or?
Yeah, well, I started officially in mid-December, and didn't really talk much about my background, but I live in Balsam Lake, so I'm part of the Polk County area. My wife and I have lived here now we've been coming up to this area for a little over 5 years from the Twin Cities, and have now lived full-time up here for going on 3 years. So really came about the position, the predecessor to what I do now as executive director for the Polk County Administration, or the Polk County Economic Development Corporation, was Vince Netherland, who maybe a lot of the listeners know, and he went on to become the administrator for Polk County. Mm-hmm. And talk about another guy that's like, oh my goodness, what have I done? He's got his hands full. But I'm in constant contact with Vince on the administrative level of the county, and plus just things previously in this position. But I came over from the cities. I've had, my career has really been on the marketing and sales development side of things. But I also was an entrepreneur where my wife and I owned a business that sold a number of years ago, and allowed us the opportunity then to come up to Polk County and make this our residence. So that's how we kind of made the transition out of the city. So I kind of have a nice perspective from an economic development standpoint of the fact that I've been the small business owner, and I've also worked for the Fortune 100 company along the way. Mm-hmm. So I can kind of see both sides of that. And it brings an interesting perspective to things. In some of these situations, a lot of what's happening with this crisis seems to be really focused on the small business, because that's a primary economic growth tool for our area. But there's also those medium to larger size employers that are maybe not as critical of a need immediately, but depending on how long this goes on, could end up in a situation where they're also in a situation of needing some assistance.
So let's focus just on small businesses just for a second, because they don't have as many resources, and they don't have as many, they don't have as much revenue, so they don't usually have as big of bank accounts, and they don't have, a corporate team to be thinking about these things. They're the doers, right? They're the people that are both the CFO, the CEO, the janitor, the chief salesperson, and everything else. So, let's talk. Let's talk like kind of specific economic things. Is there anything that the Polk County Economic Development Corporation can do, or what resources do you guys have that we can push out to that small business community to, if they're teetering, or if they're wondering, how do I keep the doors open, or should I keep the doors open, or should I close temporarily? That's a lot of what I'm going through right now with my clients is, do we shut for a week? Do we shut for 2 weeks? How do we do this? Well, is there anything specific that you guys have, or programs, or can you put people in contact with the state or the feds? Because this whole CARES Act is like a gigantic thing, $2.2 trillion in stimulus. So what do you guys have specifically right now that small businesses maybe could connect with you and get some guidance or some help with?
Right. Well, this isn't a shameless plug. This is totally to be helpful. Although, Kirk, I'm sure you'd be like, yeah, get some clicks on your website, right?
That's right.
Because that's all about the marketing piece of it. But this is really, I want this to be helpful for people. If you go to the Polk County EDC, so it's actually polkcountyedc.com, I've launched a new page which is specific to the COVID-19 crisis and the different resources that are available.
Awesome.
So that is available for Polk County, any business owners, any residents, anyone that needs that assistance. And I've really tried to keep it more business related, because as we all know, and you guys know, this thing is huge, and you can get so many resources online. So I've really tried to do my diligence to check out these programs, make sure that they're available for this area. The Wisconsin Economic Development Corporation was one of the first ones out of the gate to come out with a economic aid package. Unfortunately, tons of interest in that because people were panicked right out of the gate.
Right.
Problem is, it didn't work for our area. No one was going to qualify for it. So, that's where I'm trying to be helpful as well, is to kind of weed through some of the clutter that is out there right now to truly help the people of Polk County to get to the sources. But, specifically, there's SBA programs. Those are proving to be the most effective programs are the SBA programs in my estimation. Wisconsin EDC does have some resources out there, but financially probably not there yet. And again, a lot of these links are out there, so I don't want to necessarily bore people with that. But one of the main things that I've been encouraged to do, I report to a board of 15 different business owners and representatives from other companies around Polk County, 4 of which happen to be affiliated with banks. So between their involvement and plus some other financial lenders that I've been talking to, one of the things that I think that is really important to know is that everyone realizes that this is uncharted waters that we're in.
Right.
Nobody's an expert at this.
Right.
It's just not. It just doesn't exist. This has never happened before. So all lenders are offering some type of deferment, some type of aid to help ease the burden here while this is still going on, where we really can't get out to conduct activity within our local economy. So,
correct. Let me jump in for a second. If you're a business owner or even a homeowner and you have a relationship with your bank and you need help, get on the phone with them today. Mm-hmm. This is not like just a normal thing where if you went through some job loss or something and it's going to be tough to make rent, get on the phone, talk to them. They will more than likely be willing to work with you for a short period of time when you get through it. Don't be too proud. If you're a proud person and you don't want to call your bank and say, hey, I got laid off or my hours got cut or whatever, a business owner was very successful, but I'm deemed non-essential. Make sure that you reach out to those banks because they're all putting programs in place. They do not want you to default. I mean, plain and simple. And if they can give you a little bit of grace and, federal government picks up a little bit of that for them, then everybody kind of gets happy at the end.
Most banks, right, I think, are telling their clients, mortgage lenders, and everybody else, contact us before you're going to default. Don't contact us after and expect us to help you at that point as nicely as if you contact us ahead of time. And so being proactive is definitely going to be a much nicer way to do it. So when we talk about economics, there's a lot of different things that we look at. There's obviously manufacturing. There's restaurants that are finding challenges right now. Some of our restaurants are finding new technology, which is exciting to me, where the technology for to-go apps and things like that we talked about in a previous show is now giving them the option to do some of that. But they are also probably losing some skin in the game. Some of the finances that they would normally expect are not there because of not being able to open their doors. In fact, I know of some restaurants that have had to lay off their entire staff for the most part. And then tourism is another thing that, as we heard yesterday or this morning, depending upon when you got the news, that the president was extending this period of social distancing until the end of April, which is another 4 weeks. For these businesses that are going through this, what are some things that they can do to shore up financing right now if they're in in that desperate need? What resources are there that you could recommend? And from a long-term perspective, what encouragement could you give them to keep moving forward?
Sure. Well, to kind of piggyback a little bit off of what you guys were saying, the whole point with all these lenders is don't get to the point where you have missed a payment. Talk to them now. They want to work with you.
Mm-hmm.
They want to, they're here to help, and they want to work with you. And unfortunately, if you miss a payment, whether it's a car payment or a mortgage payment or a business loan payment, then it becomes a different conversation. They're not going to be able to help you as much. So don't be shy about getting ahead of the curve during this crisis. The other thing, as far as the resources that are available, I just read, and Bill, I know you're heavily involved with small businesses too, and it's hard to be an expert on any of this stuff because it's coming out so quickly. But I just heard that the SBA loan is now offering a quick 3-day $10,000 advance. So if you have a loan application that goes in and is accepted, within 3 days, you can get an immediate, instead of the whole loan coming through and waiting for that to happen, they'll give you $10,000 immediately, within 3 days. So that might be something you can check out too on the SBA site if you haven't done that yet as a small business owner. Granted, that might not solve all your problems, but it will get you through maybe a rough patch until that the full loan is done in its entirety. Some other, SBA type programs. There's the new Paycheck Protection Program. If you're not, and if you're not familiar with that, that's fairly. It's part of the whole CARES Act piece, but the SBA is administering that, and you can actually that could be depending on how those funds are used. And I won't get into all the details because you'll want to read about it. But if you truly use those funds to offset your expenses that have occurred during this time, whether it's a utility bill, mostly it's for keeping employees
I think
working.
it's rent. I think it's payroll, rent, and utilities are kind of the three that they keep mentioning in all the stuff I'm reading.
Correct. Yep. So if those funds are used for that purpose, it's not only just a loan; it can actually be a grant. So in other words, if that's something that you truly need and it's truly going to keep your business afloat, and you show that that's how that money was used, it's 0% interest basically.
Right.
So it's a huge program that can really help you. But again, like all of this stuff that we're talking about, the sooner you get in that line, the better off you are, because we've all heard the stories about the SBA site crashing and all of the different things. My daughter. She works in the not spa, but the Lifetime Fitness arena. So the workout gym kind of place. And of course, they're all closed. So she's filed for unemployment, and that site was having issues. And so the thing to do is to really be as proactive as possible in these programs, but also, don't take your eye off the ball as far as looking down the road as well. Something that I think is a good thing, although it's not good news to hear, is that the president, did expand our social distancing. I don't know what's the actual program called, but he basically said, everybody keep doing what you're doing till the end of April, right?
Right.
And although that's not good news, that's actually terrible news for a lot of people. But it's good news from the standpoint of, I think a lot of what people are dealing with, including myself, is just the uncertainty of all of this.
Correct. And
at least now we know, okay, for the next 30 days, things aren't going to change a whole bunch for us. We got to figure out a roadmap through this. Before it was like, well, how long is this going to be? Is this going to be 2 weeks? Should I really do anything? Well, at least now there's a line in the sand a little bit. And I think that's a positive thing. Although the news isn't good news, it allows us to at least plan ahead.
Mm-hmm.
I agree 100%. Being able to put at least some semblance of a timeline of when things might loosen up is much more helpful than it was only a few weeks ago where it went from we were going to play the NCAA tournament to they were going to play without fans to it was canceled in 3 days, and then school was canceled. And then, it just kept changing so fast. It was like whiplash. And,
right.
So it's, so the last thing before we let you go here and we transition out, give us your thought as the person that's, kind of being the full administrator for the Polk County Economic Development Corporation. What's the long-term economic outlook of Polk County in your estimation?
Wow. That's a big question. I know that Polk County, because just what I know of Polk County and the interactions I've been able to have prior to not being able to meet with anyone, at least in person,
Right.
I know Polk County is going to be fine in the long run. I think even though we kind of have now this timeline out there of this additional 30 days, I think we need to look well beyond that. There's so many positive things happening within Polk County right now. One of which, of course, is the election coming up. You know, this is our chance.
There's an election? There's an election?
Yeah, the election.
Oh, I forgot about that. That's right.
Yeah,
April
that's
7th.
sometime in April. I don't know.
In case people don't know, I'm running for mayor, so I'll throw that out there. But go ahead, Terry. I didn't mean to.
And this was not a selfless plug for Kirk or anything, because I can't vote for him from where I live. But anyhow,
Bill's out too.
But this is a great time, as you know, as people in Polk County, as U.S. citizens, to be able to affect those changes that we want. So that's a positive thing. It just happens to fall in one of the more uncertain times in our American history. But that's a positive thing. I think just the fact that these programs are available, and they seem to be the news I've gotten from those that have been able to apply has all been good, as far as they are working the process. So I could see, you know, if we can truly be back kind of to some sense of our new normal by June 1. Polk County is heavily tourist driven, of course, and that's another big unknown at this point. Tourism has obviously taken a huge hit. If we can be back up and running, people are going to be, you know, very excited to get out and do their fishing and their boating and their hiking and their biking and all that other stuff. Come June 1, they'll be more than ready for it. So I would say to those that are in, you know, the hospitality industry, whether it's having a place to stay or whether it's the restaurant side of the hospitality industry, be ready, because it is coming. It's just a matter of us getting through a little bit of a slow patch here.
Mm-hmm. Well, I definitely think we need to, you know, pivot on where we're at and transition into a little bit more of a defensive pattern when it comes to protecting our business so that we can make it through this next 30 days. And for some people, that's going to be an uncomfortable tightening of the belt. Hopefully we won't see, you know, massive amounts of layoffs like we have throughout the country continue. But the reality is we are only as viable as we are able to continue that business on long term. So whatever we need to do now to get through these 30 days so that we can hit the ground running, we need to do that. So there's some business owners that I'm working with that have basically said, you know what, I'm going to go get another job. I taught Dave Ramsey for a long period of time. And his classes talk about, you know, people that are massively in debt getting out in 18 months or less. And I was one of those individuals. My wife and I paid off $20,000 in consumer debt by doing the plan and by me and her working extra jobs, which eventually led me to the ability for me to get out of working for someone else and start my own company. And had I not done that and 2008 hit, I would have been in the breadline. But because I was at the point where we had successfully paid off a lot of our debt, we were able to just do the business. So some people are going to have to do some uncomfortable things. And that brings up a good friend of mine, which is Mark Giller in St. Croix Falls, is with Express Employment. And so if you're looking for some temporary work, give him a call. There's a couple other temp agencies that probably have a list of businesses looking for help. But we need to do what we need to do right now to get through the next 30 days, maybe 60 days, to get us back on our feet. And then we can hit the ground running when things start up again. And that's really the focus that I think is important, is whatever it takes. You know, we got to feed our family, we got to pay the bills. So Well, I want to thank you, Terry, for being part of the show. We're going to let you go and keep going. And just thank you so much for being part of that show, of this show. And as we transition into the next segment, I want to encourage people to go to the Polk County Economic Development Corporation's website. You can find that at polkcountyedc.com, and check out the resources that Terry talked about. There is a big red bar across the front of the website that will take you to a page with resources. And as we move through this future that we have, there's a lot that we need to do to be successful. So thank you, Terry, for that. Bill, you had a couple things that you wanted to talk about, so I'm going to turn it over to you and try and keep us a little bit on task here. So,
thank you, guys. Talk to you
thanks,
soon.
Terry. Yep.
I know.
Yeah. Bring it back around and give a little bit of kind of another challenge and motivational thought. Simon Sinek is one of my favorite authors. He's kind of a thought leader that the way he speaks and the way he talks, the way he writes resonates with me. I think it resonates with a lot of people that are my age. And in his latest book, The Infinite Game, it's really interesting because he talks about games that are finite, like chess. You win or lose at chess. You checkmate, the game's over. You can win or lose. But business is not a finite game. It's infinite. It goes on and on and on and on. Whether your business succeeds or fails, the economy continues. Even if as countries rise and fall, it continues. So there really isn't a true winning or losing. And it's kind of a mindset shift. It's not an athletic event. You cannot win at business. And even if you would win a day, that doesn't guarantee that you're going to be winning the next day. So what he's been talking about, and I saw him in a short video clip he was talking about entrepreneurs and how you should think through this crisis. We've never been through it before. If you're scared, it's absolutely okay. Mm-hmm. If you feel like you don't know what you're doing or what the next move should be, that's okay. But he challenged me and everyone else to think, am I having an ahead day or am I having a behind day? What that does is it changes you from dwelling on the horribleness of losing the day, like you're thinking about losing, I lost, and you feel bad, or the euphoria of I won today. You throw that away and you're looking forward to what is tomorrow going to bring. Well, I moved ahead today. Today was an ahead day. Let's make tomorrow another ahead day. But if today was a behind day, instead of saying I lost, what can I do tomorrow to make tomorrow an ahead day? And so on and so on. So it changes your mindset from am I winning or losing in this finite period to what am I doing and what decisions am I making for the long term to make my business successful? No, you're very right, Kirk. You got to do what you got to do right now to survive. If you have to go out and get another job, if you have to lay people off, whatever you have to do to survive, you have to do, and that's okay. But what I really want to challenge people to think about is, am I having an ahead day or a behind day? Because there's a lot of people I know that are teaching their kids school today that are not teachers. They're sitting home and they're struggling, me included, having kids, trying to do a job, trying to figure out how to do this type of communication with someone, and it's frustrating. So maybe you're feeling behind today, but what can you do tomorrow to move yourself further along, to get to where you want to go eventually? And in business, you can never get there because the game goes on forever. The economies go on forever. It goes past your lifetime. So my challenge to you is, instead of thinking about winning or losing today, are you ahead or behind today? And no matter whether you're ahead or behind, what can we do tomorrow to make it just a little bit better than whatever you did today? Mm-hmm. So that was kind of my overarching thought that I had. And it really hit me because I felt like I have lost a bunch of days in the last couple of weeks. Now I've won some too. This show coming off the ground, that's a win. I like that. This is fun. I've enjoyed it. And at least, one or two people watch. So hopefully they're entertained.
Well, just to kind of piggyback on that, I think we can get overwhelmed in in the day-to-day. We wake up and especially when we don't have the ability to go to the office, or we don't have the ability to do our normal routine. And, let's face it, people right now are doing more watching of Netflix and YouTube videos and things like that versus getting down and figuring out what they need to do to be successful in their business. And so this goes back to our first show where I talked about some of the ideas that we should be focused on ahead of Netflix or ahead of, whatever show you're binge watching. Spend time, number one, getting your mental, spiritual, and physical self in shape. It might be really odd for you to get out and exercise, but this is what we needed to do right now, is get out and, stretch the legs, get out and do some physical exercise.
I'm going to tell you one other thing about physical exercise is it'll help you sleep at night. If that's not something you do, it actually will physically relieve some stress from you, and it will help you sleep at night. If you're someone who maybe starts thinking about where the world is right now and is having trouble sleeping.
Yeah, I would definitely agree with that. Now, I don't typically have a problem sleeping, but once worry gets in there, it can be difficult for people to sleep, and that affects me too. On a side note, Express Employment said that there is a free Simon Sinek training on April 22nd, and there's a link in the comment that was shared there. So Simon is well known for his conversation on millennials. So if you haven't seen that video, go watch. Look up on YouTube Simon Sinek Millennials and get a little flavor for who he is. He's very motivational and very good guy. So physical exercise, mental exercise, we should be trying to up our game and take this opportunity where we're sitting at home and be listening to podcasts, be listening to business talk, or whatever it is that you're interested in. Get a new hobby, stretch ourselves so that we're not just consuming for consuming's sake, but help us to further ourselves for the future. And then the mental and spiritual help component, I really feel like we have to be in tune with the mental health that we have. A lot of people are going to face mental health challenges. And for me, my biggest fallback is my faith. And so as I struggle through these things, it really helps me to just, think about what is the big picture and how my God and my Creator helps me through that. So prayer is a big part of that. Going to church, which is all online now. So, pajama church is a lot of fun. I think it is a phenomenal time to up your game, to build yourself up. And then implementation, planning goals for the future. Those are all things. Every day, luckily, we don't start just at zero. Like, we are in a process where we have to win or lose that day. But we don't start at zero, and we kind of leave off where we went, or where we left off. But we get to build on the successes that we had, or fail on the failures that we have. One of the hardest things I think that I struggle with in business is the motivation to get started. Once a project's moving, it tends to flow really well, but it's that get off the ground, take the first couple steps, similar to this podcast or this video cast. We talked about this back in January, and it took a pandemic for us to say, well, why don't we do it? Let's see where it goes. And I think that now that it's kind of in motion, we realize that it really wasn't that difficult to do. It's a lot of fun, and it's energizing for me, at least. And so now that it's going, I think the next steps are going to be easier, and we can bring along people for the ride.
Yeah, so we're skilling up, we're leveling up, we're trying to live out what we're talking to people about right now that are tuning in. hopefully, as we kind of wrap this segment up, we're working on getting an SBA lender on to talk about some of the specifics with this CARES Act. I personally have a lot of information. A colleague, Catherine Fossler at the SBEDC in River Falls. She's phenomenal down there. They've been putting out great information on how to apply for these loans and what to do. And, everybody's scenario is a little bit different. So if you want to talk about that, give me a call, give Kirk a call. If you have some questions, we'll walk you through it. We'll give you our advice, and it's probably not going to cost you very much to get a little bit of advice because we're giving it all the way here. But if you want kind of a deeper dive, or you just want a once over, I know I'd be happy to talk to anybody that is kind of wondering how do we plot a course through the next 30, 60, 90 days. Every scenario is so unique that there isn't kind of a one size fits all, but there are the moral of the story is there's a lot of different options and a lot of different ways you can go about it, because states and federal government's throwing all kinds of money in different areas. So it's just a matter of doing what you're comfortable with, what is right for your company, what is right for your employees. And, hopefully, again, at the end of this, when we come out, everyone has survived and we're stronger, and you're able to continue on and the trajectory of your business and come out even better than when you went in. It's like, pressure creates diamonds, right? It starts out as coal, enough pressure, enough time, and you get diamonds. That's what can happen. You can also just be destroyed and pulverized into nothing. So, but let's not go down that. Let's not go down that road.
Well, I'm super excited to have as many people on this live video as we have. We've had anywhere from 0 to 40 plus individuals, and I just looked at the stats for our last video, and we have over 1,200 views on our last video. So I'm hoping that this is something that's beneficial for you. Obviously, it's a little bit of therapy for Bill and I to get together and talk about these things. It helps us stay motivated and kind of tickles the curiosity, Bill, the buttons for getting the next step for us and leveling our businesses up as well. Yep. And so I want to just say thank you for joining us. If this is your first time on the show, we are trying to squeeze it into a smaller segment and stick to that 30 to 45 minutes. But, there's so much to talk about, and generally we stay on after we get off live and we chat more, or vice versa on the beginning. And because there's just so many things that are happening that we're excited about. And if there's anything I would say, stay motivated to move forward, because there is an awful lot going on to be excited about. Yes, we're having a pandemic. Yes, there's some things that are negative, some things that are scary. But, just a reminder, we live in the greatest country in the world. Now, not everybody agrees with that, but I think it's the greatest country in the world, and the one with the biggest opportunities. And so we need to work together. We need to stay motivated. We need to think outside of the box, maybe try some different things. Yep. And so as we go through our process and seek to give free information out and help individuals, if you would like to connect with either one of us or both of us to talk specifically about your business, we're working on some ways that we can do some consulting or do some one-on-one, really break down your business and talk to you specifically. Maybe create some education things that we can make available for businesses to take advantage of at an affordable price, so that it's not overwhelming to anybody. And essentially, we're just excited about what's happening in the world. We would have had this not happened, we wouldn't be online likely right now. And so look for those opportunities. Now, be sure to visit our Facebook page, which we rolled out last night, and make sure you like it and follow it so you get the additional resources that are on there. We shared a lot of links, And there will be some additional ways to connect with us as we roll out. There'll probably be a website and things like that. We're leveling up. Bill and I have talked about this. It's a little scary to think about starting out something and working together, but we want to share what we know and our experience with you. So like the Facebook page first, and eventually there'll be other ways to connect with us. Don't hesitate to message us or add questions, and be encouraging to each other in the chat. Anything else you can think of, Bill?
No, that's it. Thanks for watching. And, if you have any thoughts on what you'd like us to talk about or cover or anything like that, shoot us a message. We have a lot of material that we can work through, but if you have something specific that you want covered, we'll take a crack at it. And, hopefully some of them will be a little, they won't all be heavy either. Hopefully we can smile and laugh a little bit more, because generally both Kirk and I laugh a lot more than not when we're talking. So hopefully we can, as we work through this, it becomes something where there's more and more energy behind it. Now that we know everything is shut down, we don't have to worry about that anymore. Stay safe, stay healthy, social distance, do all the right things, but level your skills up, and we'll get through this. And when we come out the other side, we're all going to be better for it. So that's what I got today.
All right. Thanks, everybody. We'll catch you on the next one. Watch our page. We don't have a schedule yet for like when we're going to do these, but now that we have the Facebook page, we'll put all that information on there. And as we get like a regular schedule with guests and everything, we'll put it out there. And we're looking forward to connecting with you personally. If you are an amazing business person and want to be a guest on our show, reach out to us. This is our third
Even
show.
if you're an average
and
or bad, doesn't matter. You want to be on the show, give us a holler.
And my wife said, don't worry about at-home education. You won't screw up your kids by teaching them at home. And we know that because we homeschool our kids, and so our kids haven't been screwed up too much. And so enjoy your time with your kids. Don't feel like you have to do 8 hours of school. They're going to get done a lot sooner. That's pretty much it for me. So thanks, everyone. We'll talk to you next time, and you have a great rest of your day. Thanks.